Hello, my name's Bob Cooke. Welcome to my YouTube channel on the internet, and I'm going to do a presentation called the Narcissistic Personality. I put a cartoon there, and if you see, they're all basically talking about themselves or thinking about themselves, and this is very much the feature of the narcissist. They have to be special and center of their own world. Okay, so this presentation takes a lot from Ellen Greenberg's work, who's a Gestalt psychotherapist, so thanks to her. I think she's got her own website, and I've taken her mnemonic as well, which I'll talk my way through. So let's go straight away on to the next slide, which I've titled Characteristics of the Narcissistic Personality. And I've taken a mnemonic, which is special God, and I'm going to work my way through that. So it's really a mnemonic she created to remember the essential characteristics of the narcissistic personality. Okay, so let's go to her first mnemonic, which is the one we're talking about here, to recognize narcissists. So she's got as the first characteristic status and sensitivity. Second, perfect. Third, entitlement and envy. Next, cold and calculating. Idealizing and mirror transferences. Admiration and acknowledgement. Low self-esteem. And the final three, God, for grandiose, omnipotent defense. Okay, so let's try and specify them down, and we'll take one by one. Okay, let's go. So let's start with status and sensitivity. Okay, so narcissists are very concerned with status hierarchies. In fact, they're preoccupied with them. So, for example, if they go to parties or social gatherings or meetings, they have to be number one. So the real ranking system has to be them one and other people below them. So in their head, they're always thinking of that system. There's two real positions for them, one above and one below. And narcissists are very sensitive people because they've got a basic default injury to their personality, often called the narcissistic injury, where they're very depressed and they have a sort of hollowness, they would report, an emptiness, which is very hidden over by their grandiosity. But they're very susceptible to the sort of slightest, what they might call insults or comments, which of course hits their narcissistic injury. And then they defend against that, usually through grandiosity, quite often rage or anger, sometimes called the narcissistic rage in response. Okay, so let's carry on to the next. Perfection. So, perfection is fundamental to narcissists. The last thing they want it to be termed as is average. They need to be well ahead of the game. They need people to actually see them as perfect. They need to see themselves as perfect. And of course, the problem with narcissists here is that this sets themselves up to fail, because of course there's no such thing as perfection. But it's the most important thing to the narcissistic personality. So let's go to the next one, which is entitlement and envy. So narcissists accept or expect everybody in the world to treat them as special. So if you meet a narcissist and you want to have complimentary transactions with them, or just get on with them really, you have to treat them as special. If you treat them as inferior, or you talk about yourself first, or you discount them in some subtle ways, then the working alliance is not going to be formed. So you have to see them as special and to come into their internal world through that channel. Of course, they'd be special in their heads because they're number one, if you think of the ranking systems that they work with. They are very much into entitlement, so they lead their world really with this whole perspective of entitlement. They are the sort of clients, for example, who could turn up on your door unexpectedly and just feel entitled to be there, and that you have to fit in an appointment around them. So this entitlement needs to be challenged, but of course challenged once you've got a working alliance with them. And they expect, I think, preferential treatment because they're special and they're number one. So please remember that with your dealings with them. They're very envious and jealous with people. It's a trait of the narcissist. So let's go on to the next. Cold and calculating. People with a narcissistic personality disorder rarely feel warmth for anyone, but of course themselves. They're self-centered people. Conversations have to revolve around them first and foremost. They lack empathy. This is because they're really concerned with their own world. In fact, really, it's important also to remember they don't have empathy with their own child ego state, let alone other people. Okay. I suppose I need to say they are very calculating people. They will play a lot of power plays in the therapeutic relationship. Okay. Idealizing and mirroring transferences. So I'm going to assume we know what transference means in this slide. And the idealizing transference, which comes from cohort, is probably the major transference to think of here. So the client is attempting through the idealizing transference to achieve a positive self-image. Okay. Seeing his or her true self respected, loved and appreciated by someone he or she can respect or love is very important, in this case the therapist. I think it speaks for itself. The therapist needs to go with the idealizing transference and use it in terms of getting a working alliance with the narcissist. It's an important transference to think of and to be aware of at this point. Okay. Admiration, attention, and acknowledgement. Primary goal for narcissists is to receive constant admiration, attention, and acknowledgement from everyone they encounter. This makes them feel special and important. And of course, they want this from the therapist. So they will feel special and feel entitled, and they've ranked themselves as number one to get admiration from you, and certainly to get attention, and certainly to be acknowledged. This makes them feel very special and important. Important to bear this in mind when you're working with narcissists and working to get trust and working in the working alliance stage. Have this in your head, because the slightest discount by you may cause a narcissistic injury or impact on their narcissistic injury, and they might flip into quite a rage, really. Okay, low self-esteem. Actually, their low self-esteem is acutely fragile, and they're intensely dependent, really, on what other people think of them. They may not act that way because they're so sensitive, and then they defend against the hurt, but it's really important to bear in mind so you can get some compassion for these personalities. They've usually been very hurt in their childhood. They're covering up a really lonely desolate core of themselves. And if you could find empathy for that little child who is so lonely and so hurt, then I think therapy has a much better chance of success with them. Okay, and then we go to God. And God is for grandiose, omnipotent defense. So, one of the major defenses of the narcissist personality is grandiosity and an omnipotent self-view. These are really defenses to cover up the loneliness, the massive hurt of the little child, the need to be seen special so they don't have to actually feel the pain. So grandiosity, yes, they will go to a grandiose place, almost unbelievably in some aspects. But if you think this inflated defense is to cover up the injury, then stay with it and get underneath the defense process to the little child is my biggest tip. Okay, so thank you. I wish to acknowledge Eleanor Greenberg again, as she talks avidly about the narcissist and the mnemonic is hers. But I really like it, so I thought I'd go through it and explain it a bit more to you. You can find it more about her on her web page, or just put her name into Google. Okay, thanks for listening to the presentation. I'm going to do a second slide later on about the different types of narcissist, the exhibitionist narcissist and the closet narcissist, because treatment of both of them is slightly different. Okay, looking forward to hearing from you soon. Hope you come back to my YouTube channel, TA Therapy. Bye bye.